G'day folks, welcome back to another update for natural gas. Now we've hit this major support on our charts, and I'll go through that in a minute, for a potential move to the downside with the CCI breaking below the moving averages on the daily. Before we go any further, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button to support the channel. Now in terms of the outlook, according to the analysts out there, the natural gas market prices have surged due to increased heating demand from severe winter weather and heightened energy needs from AI-driven data centers. The United States Natural Gas Fund, UNG, has risen nearly 30% year to date, while the leveraged ProShares Ultra Bloomberg Natural Gas ETF, BOIL, has experienced significant gains. Conversely, the ProShares Ultra Short Bloomberg Natural Gas ETF, KOLD, has faced declines. The growing energy consumption of AI data centers is projected to increase US natural gas demand by up to 3 billion cubic feet per day by 2030, they reckon. Natural gas demand for AI data centers. The rapid expansion of AI technologies has led to a significant rise in data center energy consumption, with projections indicating a 160% increase in power demand by 2030. This surge is expected to elevate natural gas demand by up to 3 billion cubic feet per day in the US. So first, looking at the natural gas commodity price, we'll look at the long-term trends first. And again, if you're new to the channel, these moving averages are available in the description below if you want to learn how to draw them on your charts. So on the monthly, you can see there the price is broken above the moving averages. And on the CCI 150, which is our major indicator we use, that's also been bullish now for a number of months, since around about September last year. So bullish move on the monthly. On the weekly, that's also been bullish now for a number of months. It had a bit of a dip there during that period around January 2025, and it broke out of there, giving us a bullish signal still on the weekly. So bullish on the monthly and the weekly, and obviously the price is above its moving averages. However, on a daily, it's hit this resistance up here at 43.64, bounced down off this minor, what was a resistance, now it's support at 39.46, and that corresponds with this. If I drew this diagonal ascending trend line some time ago, it corresponds with that. It's currently resting on that trend line. But notice this CCI, it's been dropping since that peak when it hit that resistance, and it's actually broken below that moving average range, indicating a potential bearish move. So just be cautious about trading long at least. At this point, I'd be more inclined to trade shorts, especially if it breaks below this diagonal trend line. Now we look at the micro charts. Here we've got the 1 hour chart. And our rule is we only trade in the direction of the higher time frame. So during this period, for example, back here when it started in February 2025, back during this period, you would have taken those little gains on the hourly chart when it broke above the CCI and the price on the hourly chart, paying attention to these divergence. Now at the moment, you'll notice here again, we've got this minor support at 39.46, but also this diagonal trend line as a support as well. You can see there it's currently resting on that, and it's having trouble breaking through. But notice the CCI has been dropping, had a bit of a spike above there in that short term, but at the moment on the hourly it's broken down. And if you're going to trade this, I'd wait for it to break below that resistance area, or that support area I should say, and you could have taken a short position back here on the close of that candle when the CCI also broke below the moving average, and you'd still be in a slight profit at the moment. But again, we expect it possibly to break further to the downside. You'd have a stop loss above that moving average range, a few points above that moving average range if you're going to put a stop loss. There's currently no divergence to talk of. Going backwards is showing a bit of history maybe for those new to the channel. We did have a bearish divergence here, slightly lower highs on the CCI versus higher highs on the price, and that broke down, hit our minimum target range. And that minimum target range, again, if you're new to the channel, we take it from the high to the previous low, significant low before that divergence started, and that's at 23.38% level. You can see there it bounced in there just below it, and then it bounced out of there, and then it finally broke down further, and it's currently resting around the 50% retrace level. If it breaks a lot lower than that 61%, then we're going to see a bearish outlook, especially if it breaks below this ascending trend line. For those of you trading BOIL on the monthly, we're well below the moving average band, although it's making some upside, but still bearish. There's no CCI on the monthly. On the weekly, we did have this bullish divergence, and it's still rising compared to the price, making new lows up until that point. Then it broke above that moving average range, giving us a bullish move. And on the daily, similar to the commodity price, if I zoom into this one, it hit this resistance, dropped down, It broke into that moving average range, and are currently in that moving average range on the daily on the CCI, and that's a neutral signal. So avoid going long or short. To go short, you want to see that break below that bottom of that moving average range if you're trading on the intraday, and the intraday chart looks like this. Again, avoid going long or short until we see more substantial move on the daily. But at the moment, you can see there the hourly is dropping, and has dropped since our last update. You would have taken a short position if you were trading this on the short side, but again, wait for this to break to the downside. But that's also already broken down and giving you a false break. That's why I'd like to see this break more convincingly below that moving average range to give us a more higher probability of more of a downtrend. Now currently it's still in a downtrend. It may come and rest on this diagonal trend line possibly in the coming hours. So I'll see what happens when that market opens on BOIL, but at the moment bearish outlook to neutral on the hourly and the daily. So for KOLD on the monthly, that's also bearish, broken below the moving average range. There's no CCI for it. On the weekly, very strong move to the downside on the price, below the moving averages, and also on the CCI, had a bit of a pullback there, but again, continuous downside on the weekly. And on the daily, you can see there it's hit this support at 1979. It's bounced out of that and still rising slowly. And I've drawn a bullish divergence here, higher lows on the CCI versus lower lows on the price. And I've actually drawn a target area. And for those new to the channel, the target area is between that low and that high, and that's at 23.38% retrace minimum. So if that continues in an uptrend, we expect it to break into that range as a minimum, and more than 90% of the time it hits that range. But just be cautious. That's where we are at the moment on the daily. But if we go to the intraday chart, again, taking long trades in accordance with the daily only, you could have taken some of these long trades, but notice there's been a bit of a weak signal. If I draw so when it broke above there on the 24th, you would have waited for this to break above, and you would have gone in long on that on the hourly, and you're still in a trade at the moment. Hasn't broken down into that moving average range, but you're making 3.6% gain in 13 hours of trade. Very small gain, but nonetheless it's a gain. And lastly, looking at UNG on the monthly, it's broken into that moving average range of the price, but notice the CCI is broken higher. A very narrow moving average range on that, but still nonetheless it's a bullish to neutral positioning on the monthly. On the weekly, we did have this bullish divergence, and that's still rising on the CCI. It did actually continue the price was bearish for some time, and it finally broke up, and it made new highs compared to those recent highs. So it's bullish move on the weekly. However, on the daily again, notice how it's hit that resistance at 22.72, dropping, and it's fallen into that moving average range, and it's just about to probably going to break open below that moving average range when the market opens for UNG. So very likely a bearish outlook for UNG as well. If we go to the intraday chart, the 1 hour chart, you'd be taking short positions only if that breaks below. It most likely will, and it looks like the hourly may come and bounce off this diagonal trend line as well, possibly in the coming hours. So I'll keep an eye on that. Notice also back here, again for those new to the channel, we had a double top on the CCI versus higher highs on the price. We had a double top on the price as well eventually after it did retrace, and that actually came back and hit our minimum target range of 23.38% after that gap down. And again, as a reference where we drew that target range, you take it back to that significant low, and that's at 23.38% level. It hit that range, bounced out of it, and it's currently resting around the 23% again. So again, if it falls, it may well come and rest on this diagonal trend line. And if it falls much further than the 61%, it's going to be a lot more bearish outlook for UNG as well. To support the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. And for added benefits and for a cost of a coffee each month, consider subscribing to the Patreon page where we look at weekly scans of bullish shares across various regions. Thanks for watching, and see you in next week's video.